We've all seen this discussed in diets. We've all done versions of this, especially around this time of the year. But as a regular thing, when you're following a plan, what do you think about having a cheat day?
Oh, God, the dreaded cheat day, the dreaded or revered cheat day. I think, like, simply, we talk endlessly about, like, what are we trying to solve? What are we trying to address? And my issue largely was considering weight to be the problem, and that if I lost weight, that would be the solution and I would be done, right? I posit this finish line. I'm headed for the finish line. I cross the finish line. I'm done. Now, whatever I was doing to get to the finish line, I don't need to do anymore, right? I'm back to real life and I can just go about my life the way I was. Unfortunately, time after time after time, the weight that I'd been so desperately trying to get rid of then comes back. So, in search of a new paradigm by which to view the entire landscape of my life and go, okay, weight isn't the problem. Weight is a symptom of the problem. So, when I dig down and I find what the problem is, and it's not just one thing, right? It's not sugar. It's not, that I eat food while watching TV, and it's not just binge eating. It's not any one of those one simple things that if I can just not do X, I'm solved, right? If I stop eating sugar, I'm fine. I don't have to think about it. No. It's a cacophony. It's an abundance. It's a cornucopia of problems that I have to address, that I have to look for diligent. I'm still looking for and finding things like, oh, hey, this thing that I keep doing, I should stop doing that because the results are not conducive to me living the best life that I possibly can. I try now not to get mad at people when they do stuff in a car while I'm driving a car that I don't like, because what does that do? What does getting mad at them do for me? It just serves my ego to like yell, I'm right and you're wrong. And I'm going to say bad words at you and hopefully make you feel bad. No, I don't know that gets to them. Maybe it makes them more defensive or makes them have to rationalize why they're right for having done what I think they were wrong for having done. Like, anyway, I digress. When we get into a situation where a cheat day is desirable, all that signals to me is that whatever plan we're doing is too difficult or is not realistic enough, is not a lifelong plan. There's a finish line to that plan if there needs to be a cheat day. So that's why they haven't worked for me. When I was dieting so severely and looking forward to this was the time I did Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Body Diet. And it was like, I'm going to do this diet and you get a cheat day. And I did not lose any weight. In fact, I started to gain weight after a while because the cheat day, I would eat to exhaustion on the cheat day. I would plan my 3 meals and my snacks, and I would go, it would always be on a Sunday, and we would go to brunch, and it would be waffles and sausage and toast and hash browns and all these things. And I would basically eat to the point of near nausea and then get to lunch and do the same thing and then get to dinner. And by the time you get to dinner, you're just like kind of like not super interested, but you're going back on this plan the next day and you get a cheat day and so I would wind up eating a dinner too. And then when I realized that I was actually gaining weight doing Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Body, I was like, oh, he talks about this. Maybe a cheat day is too much for me. So I'll just do a cheat meal. And then the cheat meal Sunday would become based around one meal, typically lunch, sometimes dinner, because I was so antsy to get to it. I typically couldn't wait all the way to dinner. And I would eat myself silly. And I don't know that I was gaining weight, but I was not losing weight. Like a month of that with no weight loss. And I was like, okay, there's something wrong with this. I've had versions of diets where there's like, a few days off of carbs and then you refeed, you do a carbohydrate refeed. But on those days, you're not eating a lot of fat. And that was really where I discovered that carbs were not really my problem. I needed the mixture of carbs and fat, like
Mhm.
a bowl of white rice with no, teriyaki sauce, or uh, which has a lot of fat in it, by the way, as an ancillary, um, or pasta, dry pasta. This is not for me. Or just sliced bread without
Mhm.
butter or mayonnaise, or sopping up, an oil and vinegar mixture. These are not for me. A donut is not a carb. It is both carbs and fat. A Dorito has the same amount of energy in fat as it does in carbs. So I would always think of this as a carby food, but in fact, it's not carby. It's a perfect mixture of carbs and fat. And that was really what I strongly desired. But the bottom line was, like, this always just sabotaged me. And so when I started thinking about the rest of my life and what plan could I do, it's weird because so many times, in the beginning of me trying to get sober in the late 90s, I would go like, well, I'm going to stop doing drugs. And like, the minute that I was well enough to like leave my house, I would go, well, I can just drink now, drinking is okay. Or I'm just going to drink on one night or two nights a week. And that would be a version of my cheat. Every single time I did that, I wound up back on drugs. And it was pretty quick too. Almost like that night I wound up back on drugs. So with food, I cannot be totally abstinent from food. So there are things that are like really off limits to me in a fairly permanent sense, but not because, they're processed, or they're, they have sugar in them, or they have fat in them, or nothing like that. It's just because my behavior with those things was such that it was hard for me to control. And
Mhm.
so I don't go to fast food really. I cannot honestly remember the last time I ate McDonald's. I think the last time I ate McDonald's was with Clementine, because she said that In and Out had the best fries, which like almost made me angry thinking about that. Like, it was so offensive to me that I was like, how dare you say that In and Out has the best fries? I get it. In and Out is good. I'm not arguing that. I have eaten In and Out. It's been a long time, but I have eaten that. Not the best fries. I would
Okay.
say, like, without cheese and animal sauce and grilled onions, like, their fries are pretty weak, in my opinion.
Mhm.
McDonald's has great fries. So I took her, like, I like remember we were in Oregon, and I like screeched off the road and like, found the nearest McDonald's and drove there, and I bought a small bag of fries, and we ate. We didn't even finish that bag, but that was just because I needed her to experience that. And she was like, I'm not eating fries, Dad. A teenage girl, like, offended that her father's trying to get her to eat French fries. And I was like, I'll eat some too, okay, just to prove this point. And I don't even think she admitted to them being much better than In and Out. She grew up knowing In and Out fries, and I didn't. And so this just becomes the subjectivity of taste at that point. But I still will hold that McDonald's fries kick the shit out of In and Out's fries. But so, like, that's my last memory of McDonald's, and that was probably 6 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, but that's kind of as off limits as it gets. And it's not so off limits that I felt like I was going to buy a 40 at a liquor store and drink it in my car, you know what I mean? Or drink it with my kid. Like, you've never gotten drunk? Well, I'll handle this right away. This is malt liquor, kid. Now, this is what really living life means. You know what I mean? I have no desire to do that. And I wouldn't. That's totally off limits to me. But a cheat day to me, it's like, is my life with Brandy so hard that I need to go and cheat on her? You know what I mean? Or is the structure of my life with Brandy, have I figured it out to where I'm really happy in it? And there's compromise, and there's effort, and there's stuff that I have to do that I don't necessarily always want to do. I don't always feel like taking the trash out, but that's what I do. I take the trash out. You know what I mean? That's like my, if the trash is over full, that's on me. And I don't always feel like doing it. And I don't always feel like eating the way I eat, but that's what I do because I know what the flip side is. So I guess like the idea of cheating, like who are you cheating? You're cheating yourself. Like, um, let's talk about your husband for a second.
Okay.
Your husband eats, there are some stuff that he tries to make off limits to himself.
Yes,
And
usually like refined sugar.
right. And like he's not an addict in the same way that I am an addict. I don't perceive that from him at all. I've seen him have a cocktail and not go out and destroy his life.
Mhm.
I've also seen him eat sugar, and I've seen the effects that sugar has on him.
Mhm.
To me, it's not the end of the world. I will sometimes eat a Halo Top before I go to bed, knowing I'm not going to feel great in the morning. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He might have it a little bit more severely than I do, but like, is he never going to eat that again? Or does he just have to be aware of what the consequences of it are? I think framing that as cheating, you're just setting your life for like these boundaries of good and bad, when it's like, no, I understand what the consequences will be, and I'm willing to experience that, and I'm going to do this thing despite those consequences. So that's really why I don't frame things as cheat. Thanksgiving was very recent. I would say I ate dessert. I typically don't eat dessert. I have a buddy who makes a banana pudding. I don't even know what this is. It's crazy. It's like Nilla wafers and bananas layered with, I think, custard that's been folded into whipped cream. And
Mhm.
the custard isn't even made in a normal, it's made with like condensed milk. It's the craziest thing I've ever tasted. And I had a portion of that. And like, that's not normal, but I didn't consider that I was cheating. It was
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. This is,
Right.
I'm going to have one serving of this. And then the next day is going to be a totally normal day where I'm back on track. I don't need to do extra cardio to earn it. That's one day. I'm not taking a second serving home to like eat while I watch TV, you know what I mean? Or eat until I feel overfull. When I framed cheating in my head as cheating, I don't know, it was hard for me to come back from cheating.